Newly out of college, I was looking for my first job, and I was very, very fortunate to be hired at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, where I learned so many things about myself. I learned about service. I learned how much I love working with people. And the one thing that was always missing was really the giving back, doing something for just the greater good. And that is when I found out about the credit union world. So for all of you who are not aware, credit unions, a lot like a bank, we do all of the same great things, but we're not for profit. We're run entirely by our membership. We are 100% tied to our communities. We have elected volunteer boards of directors who really represent the membership we have, and everything we do is to give back. And it really completed the service for me to make sure that everything that I was doing was for my community and for the people that I was working with. So I have stayed in credit unions. I have worked at 4 different credit unions, 3 in Virginia. And when I was contacted by VyStar to move to Florida, I said, it is way too hot there for me. I am a very, very pale person, and there's a lot of sun down there, but I came down and I met this amazing organization, and I got to know this area, and I just fell in love. I brought my family down, they fell in love, and this is just our home. I see this being our home forever. We just absolutely love it here. So like you said, my background is in credit unions. I am a lender at heart. I believe that what we do, whether it's a mortgage loan or a small business loan or a car loan or a credit card, we have the ability to change people's lives and help them afford the things that they need to make their dreams come true. And to me, that is why we do this. I'm also very, very engaged in philanthropy. I am on the board of the local Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, something that's near and dear to my heart. Last year, I was named the 2019 Woman of the Year for Leukemia and Lymphoma, and that is just a fancy way of saying I got a whole lot of people to give us a whole lot of money so that we could beat this blood cancer. We hate cancer. I also serve on the National Credit Union Foundation, so that is the foundation for all credit unions all over the country who are absolutely dedicated to making sure that people have the financial education, wellness, and health that they need to be successful for their lives, and also to help people when disasters strike. So when hurricanes and things strike, to make sure we can get people back on their feet. So that's about me. I've got a family. I've got 2 wonderful children who go to school right here in Northeast Florida. I have a wonderful husband named Joe that I met in college. I won't tell you how long ago that was, but it was a little while ago. And I'm just so happy to be here talking to all of you who have the passion for each individual thing you do that I have for my life with the credit union. So thank you for inviting me, and thank you for having me here.
That's amazing, Miss Jenny. I am so excited to have you in the room with us today. And I'm just learning and listening and watching the news. And I heard a story this morning on CNN how credit unions are being the champions in bailing out the small business owners. And when I heard that story this morning, I thought of you and what you're doing with VyStar Credit Union and helping the Jacksonville business owners with the payment protection plan. So with that being said, tell us a little bit, or would you like to share with us what VyStar is doing to really help our business owners and the success rates you all have been experiencing from the small business relief program?
Absolutely. And in just a moment, I'm going to share my screen with all of you because I want to show you some great programs that we have to help your businesses. But I just want to start by saying you've probably heard in the news things like it's really impossible for the smallest of businesses to get the PPP loans. The big banks aren't going out and helping. You have to have a pre-existing relationship where you're borrowing money to even get through. So for those of you who've gotten the PPP, that is fantastic, and I'm so happy for you. For those of you who haven't, maybe you've applied and you haven't gotten the service you need, or you didn't bother because you didn't know where to go, I'm going to show you what it is that VyStar is doing. It doesn't matter if your loan is $10 million or $1,000. We are here to serve you. We are here to help every single small business make it through what we're going through right now and get to the other side. And we have done that so far. We've gotten loans for about 3,100 small businesses locally. Wow. That's over $110 million that we've gotten. And whereas you can get hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars, our average loan amount is $35,000, even with those big loans. So I want you to know there's no amount that's too small. We are here for you. Every single penny helps get us to the next day. Every penny helps to make sure that our employees are employed. So without any further ado, I'm going to actually share my screen, and I'm going to tell you about not only the PPP, but also the partnership we have with the city of Jacksonville. And then finally, for those of you with employees and staffs, and you're thinking about how can I help them during this difficult time, some tips and tricks and ways that you can help them financially, because they're struggling too, even if they're not telling you. And if they're struggling at home, then they're struggling at work. And we want to make sure everybody brings their best self to work with them. So I'm going to pull this up.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing, y'all, track record, what you all have done so far.
Absolutely. Thank you. And we're taking them every day. So we definitely want to help everybody. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Is this a yes for the screen?
Yes.
So I'm going to start with the SBA, the Paycheck Protection Program. And some of you may know all of this, but I'm going to go through all the basics just in case you don't. What this program is, it was designed specifically to provide immediate short-term relief, to provide funding for payroll specifically, so we can all keep our employees, as well as a few other approved expenses so that we can make sure we keep our doors open. They've partnered with approved financial institutions, and in the first round they had, as you remember, $349 billion, $349 billion. And that went so fast that they put another $250 billion into that, and we still have plenty of money left. Funding is approved in the form of a 1% interest rate 24-month loan. But there's a forgiveness aspect. So if you meet all of the eligibility requirements and you use the money as intended, you don't pay one single penny back to the SBA on that.
So Ms. Jenny, for an example, you said a 1% interest rate. So if a business owner received a loan, say for $3,000, what would a ballpark figure of that repayment amount would look like?
Oh, great. So I will start with this. For the first 6 months while the SBA is deciding whether the loan is forgiven, there are no payments. So It will look like nothing. It will look like absolutely a deferred payment. I think in one of these slides, I might have those dollars, but I think $1,000 comes out to maybe, I've got to go back and look at it. You put me on the spot. I think it's in here though. Well, very affordable, very affordable.
Okay, if you get to it, I'll remind you.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So let me go back. So eligibility. So all businesses with fewer than 500 employees. So you may have heard that it was 2 to 500 employees, but at the end of the first round, sole proprietors were added and personal contractors. So if it's just you and you're running this business and you are doing everything on your own and you thought that you didn't qualify for PPP, you do. So I just want to encourage you to take a look at that and see if you can benefit from this program. And then for the really big companies out there, there are some restaurants and hospitality businesses that have more than 500 employees per location. They have allowed that to be 500 per location because they want to make sure that these hospitality folks who are being laid off in droves are still having their jobs. And so they're making an exception for this very, very hard hit industry. So the forgiveness criteria, what do you have to do? You have to keep your employees. You have to keep 100% of your employees, and there are a lot of details around that. We could go on all night about what those details are, but the important part is that you keep those folks, and if you've already furloughed, laid off, sent those guys home, you can bring them back. So you still have the opportunity. You don't have to say, oh no, I already had to lay off a couple of employees. No problem, you can bring them back. If you can't bring the same ones because they got another job, you bring somebody else back in. So that's your full-time equivalency. So there's still time. There's still time. And then they must continue to be paid. They can't decrease their wages by more than 25%, either by reducing what they make per hour or how many hours they work. You have to make sure they retain at least 75% of their income.
That's good, Ms. Jenny.
So you might think, well, what do I qualify for? What can I get out of the PPP? Because it sounds to me like free money, and it is. If you do everything that you're supposed to do and you really are qualified to use this money, it is free money. So what you do is you take, for everyone who was in business for all of 2019, and there are other ways to do this. If you didn't have your business, don't worry, you still qualify. But for those of you who had your business in 2019, you take an average of your monthly payroll, you multiply it by 2.5, and that's how much you qualify for. That's the very simple way. And like I said, there are more detailed ways. If your business is a little bit more complicated than that, the SBA website will give you more information about how you can find out about your qualifications. The maximum loan amount is $10 million. If there's anybody on this phone who qualifies for $10 million, congratulations.
Wow.
Congratulations. We haven't seen any. The biggest one we've seen is about $900 and something thousand for a really wonderful, impactful small business. And how are you permitted to use these funds? So here's the spirit of this, is to make sure that businesses are open and employees are being paid. So it's not something for us to stick in our pocket and save for a rainy day. Within 8 weeks of getting the funding, that money needs to be used for payroll expenses. What does that mean? That means salary, wages, commissions. That means benefits. So if you're paying benefits for your employees, by the way, that also counts in that 2.5 times number for what you qualify for.
Wow.
PTO, FSA, HSA, retirement benefits, anything that you are paying that is a salary, a wage, or a benefit to your employees counts. At least 75 up to 100% of those funds need to be used for those expenses.
So, Ms. Jenny, let me ask you a question right here. A lot of for those business owners that do not have the traditional payroll registers, things of that nature. I know you mentioned before. What documentation would they have to provide to you all, or even the SBA, to have the documentation to justify their payroll expenses?
Absolutely. So everything that I'm seeing is saying provide everything you have. So if you don't use a traditional payroll system, that's okay. Not everybody does. They're going to see plenty of these that come through that don't use a traditional payroll system. Make sure that you have all the documentation, whether those are stubs that you've sent out, or it's an Excel spreadsheet, or it's in Word, wherever it is, that's something they will take. So make sure you put all those together. You look at every single penny you've paid for this. Again, all those benefits and everything else, you add them all up, you get that average, and you multiply it by 2.5.
That's good to know.
That also goes back to how you use it when you get these funds. What we have recommended is you leave, not because we want to have the money, I promise it's gone in 8 weeks, but you leave it in that account and you spend it out of that account. So it's the easiest way. If you can't do it that way, that is not going to keep you from getting forgiven. But it certainly is the easiest way to track how you're using the money, is if it's deposited into the account, it either stays right there, or you move the whole thing to another account where it's not mingling funds that you prefer to use, and you pay all of your approved expenses out of it. It's going to make it real easy for you at the end when you need to prove that you use this money. Can you do it another way? Absolutely. If you've got really good books and really good organization, you can show that. But that is definitely what we have heard from the other side, particularly for small business owners, if you don't have one of those really robust systems, which most of us don't have. In the event that you can't use the entire 100% on those payroll and related expenses, and you can only use that 75 to 100, you can use the rest, up to 25% of the total, on your mortgage interest, your rent, and your utilities. So there's an understanding. So what does that mean to me? If I have 5 employees and they all work 40 hours a week, and I retain 5 employees, but I can only give them 30 hours a week, and I continue to pay them at their same rate, I'm only paying out 75% of what I paid before. So I'm going to have some money left over, and I can either give it back, or I can use it on these utilities, my rent, and everything to stay in business. So there is an allowance for that.
So I have a question along that line. What about the business owners who are home-based businesses, especially now with COVID-19, with the mortgage, the rent, the utilities, and especially if it falls within that period requirement of the PPP? Could they use those things, that PPP money, to pay those bills if they're home-based?
Yes, so I am not a CPA or a tax advisor, and I recommend that you see your CPA or tax advisor. But yes, whatever it is that you're claiming on your taxes that are used directly for your business expenses, you can use it for that. You can also use it to pay yourself. Just make sure that you told Uncle Sam how much you made last year, and you were truthful about it. So that's what you're going to be using as your proof. You're going to be using your tax returns and all of those things that are coming through. Or awesome. if you haven't filed your taxes yet, just make sure that whatever it is you're using, the documentation you're using, that's also the number that you use when you file your taxes.
That's great to know. Thank you for clarifying that.
Absolutely. So what happens if you don't meet that forgiveness criteria? So what happens if during that period I have to lay everybody off, or I use the money for what I'm not supposed to use it for? Am I going to get thrown in jail? You're not going to get thrown in jail, but you're not going to get forgiven for your loan. So you really want to do everything you can to use that money the way that it's intended to be used. So all or part of that loan may not be forgiven. It's not all or nothing. There is an ability to have part of it forgiven. But after that 6-month deferral period, anything that's not forgiven is going to become an 18-month loan at 1%. So here's the number here that you asked me earlier. For every $10,000, your payment will be about $550 a month. So
Okay.
$1,000, $55 a month. Your $3,000, I can do the math on that, $165 a month.
Awesome.
So that's what you're going to be looking at for your payment. And I think that's the end of PPP.
Okay.
I want to take a pause. And I do want to get to the other loan programs, but do you want me to take a couple of questions on this? I saw
Let me see.
some pop up in the chat.
Yes, he was asking, were you, this is Robert. He wants to know, are you representing a bank, private lender, or SBA? So I was letting him know that you were the Chief Lending Officer at VyStar Credit Union, Jacksonville, Florida, and that you oversee the Small Business Relief Program. Robert, do you have any questions for Jenny thus far in her presentation? Please put them in the chat.
So while you're doing that, I'm going to give my plug for VyStar because I'm so very proud of our people. When the first round of PPP came out, the SBA, in a very honest attempt to get a lot of money to a lot of businesses that need it very, very fast, did not do a lot or really any communicating with the financial institutions. And it was a very, very difficult process. We all did our best. They did their best, we did their best, but it was a difficult process. We worked tirelessly. It was over an Easter weekend. There were dozens of us who worked every evening, every weekend to put together a program that would automate the applications, that would get the applications into the SBA, that would get you approved very quickly, and most importantly, get you funded in your account very quickly. So we now have a program where you can, if you're a member, you can go on right now while we're talking. You can put in your application. You can go to vystarcu.org, put in your application, and you can get an approval pretty quickly. If you're not a member, drive over to one of our branches. We've got about 50 of them. Go through the drive-through, open your membership, and the next morning, because we update all of our member numbers every night, the next morning you'll be able to apply. There's money now. Don't wait. But you do have time. So if you need to go out tomorrow and open your membership and apply on Friday, we should still have funds. We'll take that application. We will get it approved. As soon as it's approved, we'll get electronic documents to you so you never have to walk into a branch, and we will fund your account very, very quickly because we know this money is needed and we are here for everyone in our community.
That's great, Miss Jenny. I'm right with you. Cool, giving shout out to VyStar, but I have a question. And has the SBA directed you and all the other lenders, if that money is not utilized, all of it is not depleted, what will happen? Because we still have small business owners. They're in the mindset, they're not trying to create any more debt. They're, even though it's to help, but they look at it in the long term. Okay, here's one more bill I got to add. So what would that position you all if all that money is not funded to the small business owners? What would happen?
Sure. I don't see any scenario in which this money isn't all used, so it will all be gone. We may have another week. We may have several days, but it will all be used. The good news about this is if you know how to use it, if you do what you're supposed to do, you will not end up with a loan. Okay. Because there is a 6-month deferral, and the forgiveness is intended to happen between September and October. So it will be forgiven if you do everything you're supposed to do prior to a loan payment ever being due. I understand not wanting to have a loan, and so I would never encourage somebody to take on debt they don't want. And if this isn't right for our businesses, we would absolutely understand. But I just do want to make sure that everyone knows if you are impacted by the pandemic and by the economy, if you do believe that not having this money will have a negative, it doesn't necessarily mean you think it will put you out of business, but if it will have a negative impact on your business, and having this money will help you keep your doors open and keep your employees, then you qualify, you are eligible for the loan. And if you intend to keep 100% of your workforce and pay them at least 75% of what you're paying them right now, then I would encourage you to actually think very, very long before you turn down this money, because it is meant for you. It is not meant for the giant billion-dollar corporations. It is meant for you so that you and your employees can continue on after we all go back to normal.
Thank you so much for that clarification, Ms. Jenny. Again, small business owners, please don't wait. Don't hesitate. Ms. Jenny said you all can go online right now. Put your application in. They have automated the process. If you don't have the formal documentation, send what you have. They're doing massive turnaround approvals for this funding so you can stay sustainable in this time. And then if the 6-month forgiveness is in effect, by the time it is to get ready for you to make the payment, you've been file income taxes again and probably get your tax return or your refund payment to help you pay the loan back. So we're gonna let Miss Jenny keep going through, because we are giving you hope this hour so you can stay engaged and fund your passion or sustain your passion.
And we can't see you, so if you're having happy this hour, that's okay too. So the next item, some of you may have heard, and this is for our businesses that are located in Duval County, is the city of Jacksonville approached us about a month and a half ago and wanted to find a way to put money in the pockets of true small businesses to make sure, again, that they could make it through, that they could weather the storm, and that they could keep their employees. This one, unlike the PPP, is not designed specifically to keep everyone employed and is not designed specifically to be used for payroll. So what this is it's designed to provide critical aid to local small businesses. It combines low-cost loans with flexible terms and grants provided by the city of Jacksonville. That means it is not fully forgivable. Parts of it are forgivable, parts of it are loans that are repaid. This is intended to be a supplement to the PPP. There's a tiered grant system that I'm going to talk about with a combination of a one-time grant, some ongoing interest payments, and partial loan forgiveness. So who's eligible? This is all Duval County businesses with 2 to 100 employees. This matches the state program. So they define that as 2 to 100 employees. Businesses must have been in business for 1 year and provide most recent tax returns, but there is some leniency around that. So if you're not sure if you qualify, please reach out to us and let us know. Personal guarantee is required because this is truly a loan that will need to be at least in part repaid, but the minimum credit score is waived. The personal guarantee is fully waived for nonprofits. So if there are any nonprofits on the line right now, that you do not have to be a personal guarantee for your nonprofit.
That's good to know. I know a lot of churches would love to hear that. Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. You can apply for up to a $100,000 loan amount. And the way that this is going to work is, as opposed to the PPP, where your qualification is based on your payroll, this is going to be based on your cash flows. So what you can afford to repay. We do underwrite this ourselves in-house, and it's going to be a line of credit. Ordinarily, we would have minimums. Most banks and credit unions have minimums because it does take a lot of work to put into something like this. But we know right now is a different time. And if what you need is $1,000 and what you qualify as $1,000, we are going to get you $1,000. And so there is no minimum loan amount for this. There's a fixed interest rate of 5.99%, which is very low. Our normal lowest is in the 8.5% range right now. Okay. And the city of Jacksonville pays that interest for the first year. There's also a $250 underwriting fee. The city of Jacksonville's paying that too.
Oh,
so
wow.
What does that mean to anybody who gets this loan? Well, this is a 6-month draw period, 1 year interest only loan. Mm-hmm. So that means in that first year, you don't pay the underwriting fee, you don't pay the interest, you don't have a payment. It is 1 full year of no payments. After the first year, it fixes for a 5-year repayment period where you pay principal and interest. And I'm going to get to how that works, but there are some enhancements from the city of Jacksonville. So what does that mean? That means the first 3,000 businesses that get this loan get a $1,000 grant. We have not reached 3,000 businesses yet. We still only have about 2,000 businesses who have gotten this loan. So there are some more grants available. The $250 like I said, is going to be paid. The first year of payments are going to be paid.
That's
Then
good.
from years 2 to 6, so you got 5 years that you're repaying, for every business that retains at least half of its workforce, just half of the workforce, every year you keep half of your workforce, you are going to get all of your interest payments, and you're just going to make principal payments. So that means you're borrowing money without paying any interest on it. So congratulations, that's a good deal.
Wow.
For everyone who keeps 100% of their workforce, not only do they get that interest payment, but at the end of year 2, 3, 4, and 5, not into year 6 because it's going to be paid off. For those 4 years, you will get a 10% off the balance principal down payment. So if your balance is $10,000, they're going to pay $1,000 to it on top of what your payments are. So that's a very, very exciting benefit that the city is doing to help their businesses.
Yes, I see. That is amazing. I love the way you're breaking it down because it can be so overwhelming. And that's a lot of the times business owners, this is where you have to really have structure and organize to work on your business so you can be able to take these opportunities.
Absolutely. So lastly, some of you might say, I'm not in Duval County and I don't qualify for that loan. But don't worry, we have something for you too. So we have an emergency loan. It's called the Making an Impact Community Business Loan. And this is what it is. It is designed to provide needed cash flow to local small businesses. Again, low-cost loans with flexible repayment terms. This is for businesses that are essential really to our communities and are providing something that no one else is providing, or providing it someplace that no one else is providing it. And that doesn't mean you don't have any competition. It just means that you're one of the few. So this is nonprofits, businesses that provide essential community services, and businesses that provide services to underserved communities. And we have so many of those communities around us who we cannot allow those small businesses that serve them to go away. They absolutely need those services. Again, it's 2 to 100 employees, must have 1 year in operation and provide those tax returns, can apply for up to $150,000 at that same 5.99 that we're giving for the city program. We are paying the loan fee for this, that $250, VyStar's paying that. Again, it has the 6 months draw. The first year is interest only. So if you have $10,000, I'm going to try and do math real quick. 6%, 6%. $600, is that right? For the year divided by 12. So we can all do some kind of math on that, about $50 a month. So for that first year, it's very, very affordable. And then for 5 years, we're going to make that a fixed payment where you pay down the balance. There are no prepayment penalties on any of these loans. So if you say after 1 year making your interest only payments, you're doing well, and you do not want to keep paying this for 5 years, you just make your payment. You just pay it off whenever you need to. There are no penalties for that ever.
Awesome. So Ms. Jenny, with the essential community services, would that be someone like, give an example of what that would, essential community services and businesses? Sure.
Absolutely. There are so many, and there's no exhaustive list, but if we have a business or a nonprofit who is providing food for people with that don't have food security, if you're talking about small, we have a lot of places in our community that don't have access to a large grocery store. Publix isn't everywhere. So one of those small grocers where that's the only place that a neighborhood can walk to get their groceries. If anybody who's out there providing these services, and we are very relaxed about this, we just want to make sure that this isn't going to big companies that don't need it, to large strip malls and, guys with the deep pockets. This is specifically for people who are needed in the community. Without them, somebody's going to suffer, and we want to make sure that they have access to this lending and that they have it at this low rate. So this is the rate. This is a rate of what you would get if you were buying a car. So for it to be an open line of credit, it really, really makes a difference in being able to repay it. And it's also for 6 months, that draw period. I can't stress that enough. That means you could, let's say you had a $10,000 line, but you're not sure if you need it. You don't have to pull from it, and you don't pay a penny of interest unless you pull from it. You pull from it, you pay what you need to pay, and then you get some money and you pay it down. You only pay interest on the days that you used it. So this is really, truly intended to help and not to just add undue debt and expenses.
That's great. Now, I had a question. When you was mentioning the, those are communities, you said for someone that's not in Duval County. So what is the geographical reach for those essential community services and businesses that you will, VyStar will service with this, making an impact?
Absolutely. Now, I just want to say, if you're in Duval, you can still do this, but you're probably going to want to do the other loan because there's money that the city's giving you in it. We service all of Northeast Florida. So we actually go down right below Orlando and come all the way up to the tippy top of the state to both sides. And actually, we scoot right over the border to 4 little counties in Georgia. So if you are in any of our counties, you qualify for membership. If you qualify for membership, you qualify for this loan.
So which for, I'm being strategic because I do business in Georgia sometimes.
Don't ask me. I don't know.
You don't?
It's on our website. I don't know. It's the 4 right over.
Okay, so I will follow up with Miss Jenny, those of you from Georgia that's listening, to see if your county qualified to apply for Making an Impact community business loan with them. So
thank you.
Keep going, Miss Jenny.
Thank you. I mentioned I was a Virginia girl. This is home now, but I still don't know all our counties.
Okay.
So I'm working on it. And so I wanted to provide some things. This is not intended to be a plug for VyStar. We are here to help. We want to help you. If you bank someplace else and that's where you want to go, we want to help you have the right information to go there. So I'm going to share with you also some other types of relief that you may or may not have thought of yet, that you and your employees may be eligible for. So for any of you that have real estate loans, if you own where you're operating, you may be eligible for forbearance. What does that mean? That means that you can temporarily not pay your mortgage payment. Some places will require you to pay interest. Some will not require you to pay anything. At the end of that period, you may have all of those payments due at once, or if you can show that you still do have that need, you may be able to take those payments and put them to the back of your loan. And that will depend on your organization. For VyStar, for our commercial loans, for any kind of mortgages we have, no matter how big or small, we're allowing those forbearances. We're not requiring any payments for 90 days. And at the end, we're just putting those payments at the end. For residential, there are some regulations that require us to, at the end, have that full payment due. However, we are also offering at the end, when that payment is due, a modification. It's just a fancy way of saying the government makes us do more paperwork. So we have to do a little more paperwork to either push those payments to the end of the loan or spread them out over a certain period of time, whatever works best for our members. There are also loan deferments available. If you haven't received one, it's not going to hurt to call your organization and ask them if they can defer your payment for a month or 2 months or 3 months. This is a way that you can get by without taking on more debt, is pushing off some of the payments that you've got. I know we are waiving almost all of our late fees.
Wow.
Hopefully your organizations are as well, but it never hurts to pick up the phone and ask. And also check in the CARES Act, the same act that gave us the PPP, has some protections on foreclosures and evictions. The same goes for your, there's a lot there.
That's amazing, Miss Jenny. I'm glad you added this component.
Well, we definitely want to take care of our employees. So for those of you with employees, know they are struggling too. Even if you continue to pay them, they may have a spouse or a partner at home that is not continuing to be paid. They have children at home. They have parents that they're taking care of or other loved ones. They may have increased medical debt. They are stressed. And so there are some ways that you can help them. The same forbearance and loan deferments that are available to your business are often available to your employees. The government has been very relaxed in allowing financial institutions to award forbearances. Right now, about 5%, 5 to 7%, but about 5% of all mortgage loans are in forbearance right now. Loan deferments, I can say for VyStar, I'm proud to say at the end of March, we made the decision to advance all the due dates on all of our consumer loans and credit cards. So if you want to make your payment because you're still getting a paycheck and you want to get that debt down, that's great, but you don't have to. So if you're struggling, you don't have to pick up the phone. You don't have to call us for 2 months. So until June, folks don't have their consumer payments to make, and about a third of them are taking advantage of that. So that's how hard hit everybody is right now. We waived all of our late fees in March, and I believe in April as well. Again, let your employees know that CARES Act, foreclosure and eviction protections protect them as well. We have emergency bridge loans. A lot of organizations out there do. We have awarded hundreds of those to our members. We've awarded millions of dollars in emergency loans. So for those folks who just need to get the things that they need to get right now and are very worried about it, and they don't have, maybe a mortgage to take home equity loan out on, and they just need the cash, we will be there to give them the right financial advice so they don't get themselves unnecessarily in debt. This is a short-term solution to what can sometimes be a long-term problem, but we're very hopeful that these are short-term problems and that we're going to be able to address them this way. And also don't forget, this is when it becomes a financial health and a medical health, it becomes a mental health issue as well. So if you have EAP, or some other similar program for your employees, encourage them to use it. If not, encourage everybody to do whatever it needs to be, whether it's meditating, whether it's seeing a doctor, whether it's just talking about their feelings. This is a tough time, a scary time for everybody. Healthy employees are good long-term employees and will help take care of your business.
That is amazing. Now, she has given us a whole bunch of hope today. I mean, whole bunch of hope, not just the money, not just the opportunity to be able to solve the problems at this time. Funding is available, whether you're a business, whether you're an individual, whether you're a nonprofit, whether you're an essential person in the community for your organization. There is no excuse. I'm just gonna lay it out there. Miss Jenny have eliminated all the excuse. So you all should be injected with a whole bunch of hope. So I just want to give you a homework assignment. That's the teacher in me. Get your paperwork in order. Go on the website, VyStarCU.org, and go on the checklist. They tell you what you need. If you don't have an account with them, she just told you, go through the drive-through. Make sure you have your identification number. Your ID for the person who's the business owner or any of owners of the business. Get the paperwork. She said you can even sit in the parking lot and fill it out. Go back through the drive-through and turn it in. And within 24 hours, you will have an account with VyStar to have a member. Now, that is pristine service to do it in 24 hours. So I just want to tell you, Miss Jenny, thank you so much. Miss Jenny, how can they reach you or reach VyStar department to help with these different programs and these resources that you have just shared with us?
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, we are all hands on deck. I will tell you, we have had a couple of nights where we were entering overnight, 24 hours, myself, my CEO, our senior executives, and everybody else. So that means that it's very hard to get through on the phone. And we want to make sure that you get the fastest, best service you possibly can. For the PPP, you can do, just like you said, you can do the drive-through to open your account, but the fastest way to get service there is to go onto our website, VyStarCU.org. You can click on, there's a banner up at the top, you can click on that, or right in the middle, there's a place that'll tell you about the PPP and apply right there. Upload your documents, make sure you have everything in order. You get one chance to apply. You can't apply again if you ask for the wrong amount. So sit down and do your calculations and get that in. If you don't know what to do, you can call our contact center. The number is right there on our website, and they will get you through to somebody who can answer your questions. For the City of Jacksonville loan, that is going to be a paper application also on our website. Very simple paper application you fill out and you send it to the email there. It's jacksreliefloans@vystarcu.org, but you don't have to remember that because it's on our website for you. They are pulling them from there every single day. They're getting through them very quickly. We have about a 5-day turnaround to funding on that as long as you have all your documents in order. And we have, I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, but if you went through the drive-through in the morning, the next morning you'll be able to apply. If everything you have in there is without error, you'll get approved and you will be funded overnight. So that is best case. If for any reason there's something missing or the SBA gives us an error, we will email or call you to make sure we get it all right, and we resubmit on your behalf, and we will resubmit on your behalf.
That is now see, did y'all hear that? She said they will resubmit your loan on your behalf if there's a problem with it going through. That is 100% customer service. So again, she gave you the website, which is VyStarCU.org. The customer service number for in Jacksonville is 904-777-6000, or the 800 number is 800-445-6289 is how you will find out more information. But again, if y'all are calling, Miss Jenny and them cannot get your application done. So their website is very detailed, very friendly, and I'm glad she brought in that you can only apply once. So that means you're gonna have to make sure your documents and your content, and you really know what you need for your budget to move forward. So I thank Miss Jenny. I don't think we have any questions. Robert was from New Jersey tuning in, and I think you were so thorough they probably didn't have any questions. But for those of you that wasn't in the room, there will be a replay. I make sure you have pad and pen in front of you to take these amazing notes and resources. For my Georgia people, I will find out what those 4 counties are, because remember, Miss Jenny is new to our area and she's still learning. So welcome to Jacksonville, Florida community. And I will make sure this information is put out on all my social media platforms. And again, I want to take this time to thank Ms. Jenny Vipperman, the VyStar Credit Union family, for all your untireless efforts in your homes, approving these loans so these small business owners can stay sustainable during this time and they can keep having value. With that being said, I want you all to make sure you're available this Friday evening at 7 p.m. The Transformational Women in Leadership continues with faith and community. We have an apostle and pastor, Tangi Combs, from Satellite Beach, Melbourne, Florida area, to talk about the churches, the nonprofits, how they can have hope during this time. And Miss Jenny just helped them out with the big one, which is the money. So with Miss Jenny, any final thoughts or words that you would like to say to our listeners and our viewers before we sign off for today?
I will say, I know right now we are going through a tough time, and thank you all for your passion and your entrepreneurship. I truly believe that the entrepreneurs of this world are going to save our world. You are the saviors of our world, and even when things are tough, don't give up. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing it for a purpose, and you're doing great. So thank you all so much for having me today.
Thanks, everyone. This is your host and chapter director of Startup Grind Jacksonville in Jacksonville, Florida, coming to you live in the virtual meeting room with the esteemed Ms. Jenny Vipperman, of the Chief Lending Officer of VyStar Credit Union. Stay connected with the chapter. Make sure you go on VyStarCU.org to learn more. Have a great evening. And again, thank you, Ms. Jenny, for your time.
Thank you.